Okay, there we go. That's what it's looking like. It's a little dark to see, but that is the entire back piece with the shield, with the EL wire installed and on and working really, really good. So let's flip the lights on, and that will show you what everything's looking like. Let me pick this up and lay it down on the table here and show you what we got. There we go. All right, that's probably slightly better. And of course, base pieces. It's glowing pretty well. Not as good as it looks in the dark, but can't have everything. So anyway, let's turn this off, and I'll talk to you about what I did here. Okay, as you can see here, I have the lower back piece now attached to the upper back piece, and I used a lot of Gorilla Glue on there. So let's flip this over, and I'll show you what's going on. So as you see, I got some squeeze out here. I've cut some notches where the EL wire goes through, and that's the next thing I want to talk about. So what I did was on the back of these pieces, or excuse me, on the front side of these pieces, I actually cut a groove in them like that. And what I did was I laid the plastic tubing in the groove, ran the EL wire up through a hole, through the plastic tubing, back down through the other hole, just snugged it up. Then on the back side, picked a different hole, came back up, ran back through, and back down. And what that does, that sewing technique, if you will, it actually snugs that tube down, that little plastic tube that's in there down, so it doesn't go anywhere. And since it's recessed, the entire tube glows pretty well in the dark, and it looks, again, pretty good, as you just saw. Now, what you end up having to do is that you actually start the EL wire inside the box here, run it out through a hole in the back. I secured it with some Gorilla Tape right here. That isn't going to hurt the wire at all. It's plastic coating outside. Put it in here, ran it back and forth, brought it back out right here. So back over to the other shield generator, 1, 2, 3 times through that. Back out the back. Again, secured it with some Gorilla Tape. I might use a little bit more on the back piece here, but back up and into the back of the shield generator box, then around the front of this right here. Let me see if I can, yeah, there we go. And again, all I did for that perfectly circular groove right there was I took a cookie cutter, heated it up, a round cookie cutter, heated it up with the heat gun, and then just very gently and very carefully work this in. I did that before I bent that, otherwise, before I bent the shield box, because if you do it afterwards, it's just going to buckle the shield box. You do have to put some weight behind it. So anyway, that's what that looks like. So after I ran that out, around, back under, out, then back through this spot right here, then I brought it back out the back side of the shield box, all the way down, in right here, around the front right there, and then just the little bit I had left over went right there. It turns out I had about 6 inches fewer than I thought I did, but no big deal. Now what I did for this, you could certainly cut a shallow groove with your Dremel tool if you wanted to. And I think if I was going to do this again, I would. But all I did was, again, I drilled a small hole here, cut a groove with my knife, and then just tuck that down in the groove. I think it would have looked a little better if I'd done a Dremel tool, Dremel tool groove. But that's for, I think that's for Mark II if I ever go to build a Mark II. So overall, pretty happy with how the back side of the back armor is looking. So set that aside for a moment. Let's tuck that in before it falls and breaks. Now, I told you about the painting on the glove. Well, there you go. That's how you get that little tip about the tape and sealing the tape with paint. That's how you get those really sharp detail lines like that. And I have to hot glue this onto the back of the glove, but no problem. Okay, now the next thing I wanted to talk about was the leg piece, or excuse me, the hip and thigh piece. And here's the template for it. Now, I'm not giving you measurements on here, because this is one of those things where you got to sit down, you got to take a tape measure or at least some scrap cardboard or something and kind of play with it until you get the measurements right. And well, basically, here's what's going on. This thing right here, this is the pivot. This thing right here should go right over your hip. And then after you've done that, I just used a compass to extend the circular arc to get this arc right here, and then repeated that to get that arc, and then just squared this off. Then, as you can see here, I've got it swooped down. This is actually going to tuck under my groin on the upper thigh. This area right here, well, I'll show you that on the actual cutout piece here in a moment. This area right here is going to go down and around and actually cover up my butt a little bit. The lower part of the back piece is supposed to do the main work on that. Now, I'm under no illusions that this is going to be the final piece. This is a test piece for a couple of reasons. First thing, I'm checking out the techniques that I want to use to finish this. Now, like I said, this is just an ABS plastic floor drain. What I did was I took it outside and I sanded it lightly just to get the raised lettering off of it. And then I used my Dremel tool and I cut most of it off. Although, yeah, there you go. You can see the grooves that I cut inside it, and that's going to allow the nylon strap to run through it. Now, what I did was I transferred that hole right there to the center here. Then I just scribed that. Then I just set this in place on center. And then while it was sitting on the, while it was actually sitting on the foam like that, I just traced around it with a pen and then came back with the X-Acto knife, cut it all the way out. But that's how it's going to look in there. And I think that looks pretty good, especially if it's up against my leg, because you won't see anything through it. So that's the first part. Second part, as you see, we got some details here. This area right here is meant to look like a rubber gasket. I'm not sure if I like the way it's going to come out. I'm going to end up painting it flat black and take a look. But these smooth areas right here, what I did was I marked them off on the template, but then I cut them out, including this piece right here. And these pieces, I put some of the thin 2mm craft foam, 1 or 2 millimeter craft foam on them. Whereas this piece, I wanted that to stand out in more relief. And I think you can see that there, but that's the 5mm craft foam. So, next thing I have to do is I have to take this assembly and I have to heat it up. And oh, I'm sorry, one last thing. I took that piece, I cut it out, got the craft foam on there, and then I put it back in and glued it into place. And I did the same thing with these others here, although, the reason for that was I wanted a flat surface under the craft foam so I could get good adhesion. There's nothing stopping you from putting the craft foam directly on the textured bits, except for the fact the glue might not hold as well. Now, one thing that you can do, say for the chest piece, is while everything is still flat, you can carve out these, and this just occurred to me, you can certainly carve out some textured areas to get the smooth areas, have them perfectly flat, or excuse me, not perfectly flat, but kind of marked up, but then put these sheets of craft foam in place. And if you do that, craft foam will give you that very smooth surface like that. And somehow I dented that. Okay, if you do get a dent or something like that, that will come out if you heat it up carefully with your heat gun. Just minor dents. Big gouges, you're not going to be able to do it as well. So, all right. So anyway, if this fits, then I'm going to make another one, and the way you make a second one out of this, it's just like left and right. You just flip your template over and cut it in the opposite direction. I still have some work to do on it. I have to add, well, again, if it fits properly, I'm going to add buckles here, another buckle here. I still haven't decided if I'm just going to use the nylon straps to run around my leg, or if I'm going to use the 2-inch elastic. Either way, whatever I can do to keep it snug up against my leg. Now, one thing that is going to happen is the nylon strap is going to run through this. It's going to come out, go around the front, go through the cod piece, come around the back, under the rear piece there, and then back into this, and it's going to buckle. And that reminds me, one last thing. I went to, happened to be at Best Buy, and I found this. This is a camera case. And as you can see, it's nylon, black and red. I'm going to use that to carry my wallet and my phone and other stuff while I'm at the con. So, hope this helps. Hope I gave you some good advice here, and I guess that's it for now. So, talk to you later.